welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria and today I'm going to be showing you everything that I managed to read in the month of May. First of all, I'm sorry this video is a bit late. I had planned to post this earlier today, but as you can see I'm filming it now because I wanted to finish one last book before I filmed this video, and so everything just got later. But we're here. I read a total of 13 books in the month of May, which is very exciting. That's a lot of books. I guess we'll just start talking about them because this will be potentially a long video. I'll try not to ramble too much. So the first book that I finished this month was Our Violin Ends by Chloe Gong. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. If you want to know my specific thoughts on this, I read this book for a reading vlog that I did this past month where I read the highest average rated and the lowest average rated books on my Goodreads TBR. I enjoyed this. This is the sequel to These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong and the conclusion to this duology, which is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in 1920s Shanghai with warring gangs, and there's like a paranormal supernatural twist and it's kind of a mystery. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a fantastic conclusion to the first one, and reading this makes me like the first one more. I was looking at my Goodreads and I only gave the first one a 4 stars and I don't understand that now. So I might go back and change that to a 5 because as a whole I think this duology is a 5-star duology and I would recommend it. Then in the middle of doing that vlog I made the, well, is it a mistake? It made that vlog take longer to make, but I watched the first season of Heartstopper because it came out, and oh my god, watch it if you haven't already. I've been trying to make everybody in my life watch that show and it's not going very well, so I need you people to watch it. I just do it. But because I watched it, I had to read it. I've already read this twice, so this is my 3rd time reading this particular volume. This is Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. 5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, this series is the cutest thing ever. It's a graphic novel series following Nick and Charlie, 2 boys at an all-boys English high school situation. Charlie is openly gay and Nick is just starting to discover some things about his own sexuality. They meet and it's adorable and it's kind of ruining everyone's lives at the moment. I loved this. Why do we have to wait till next year to get the next volume in this graphic novel series? That's what I want to know. Then I read the second book for the reading vlog that I was doing, and that one was Wrong in All the Right Ways by Tiffany Brownlee. Oh, I think I gave this a 1 star. Admittedly, it is a bit more like a 1.5, but I did not like this book. So again, if you want my detailed thoughts, check out that vlog. So this book in a nutshell is about this girl, Emma, whose family takes in a foster son who's about her age and they develop romantic feelings towards each other. Except every aspect of this book that could have been done wrong was done wrong. I really disliked this book. It handled so many sensitive topics really poorly, and all of the characters were really irritating and manipulative and bad for each other, and they didn't even really have any chemistry. But the book's so pretty, so it's just really, really upsetting, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Then because I was bitter and sad about that reading experience, I reread the second volume of Heartstopper to make myself feel better. I basically wouldn't let myself pick this up until I finished reading the books for that vlog. Again, this is my 3rd time reading this one as well. So cute, honestly. And this second volume, I once again gave it 5 stars. These 2 volumes cover about the same material as the first season of the show, so I thought maybe I would stop here. So the next book I read was The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai, or Desai. I don't know how to pronounce that. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. This is an adult romance book. So Daisy is a software engineer and she's kind of, you know, succeeding quite well sort of in her career. She kind of bounces from startup to startup company, but she enjoys her work. She's pretty happy with her life, but her family is just kind of waiting for her to finally get married. Cue Liam, who was her brother's best friend back in high school and also broke her heart. He's somehow walked back into her life and he finds out that he will gain this inheritance if he gets married by his next birthday. So they strike up a bit of a deal. To get her family off her back and to get his inheritance, they will have a marriage of convenience. That never works, especially when there's feelings anywhere in the story of these two people knowing each other. So obviously they start developing feelings again and it gets real complicated and messy, and I loved it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did find some things towards the end were very point blank. Like suddenly characters were saying paragraphs of dialogue to each other, basically explaining stuff instead of us uncovering it or interpreting it from what was happening. It was just like, no, this is why I'm doing this, that, and the other thing because I've always thought this, and this is why. People don't talk like that. It would be easier if people did, but they don't. So that was a bit of a letdown. For the most part, I found this book 5 out of 5 stars, and then the ending was like a solid 3. It was just a bit rushed and a bit too heavy on the info dumping, which is odd for the end of a book. But I did really like it overall. I'm intrigued to see more from this author. I've read one other book from her, and I did like this one more than that one, although I did like them both. So this does have the fake dating trope. It also has a bit of an enemies to lovers thing going on, and this cover is just stunning. So, you know, there's that. Then I couldn't help myself, and I read volumes 3 and 4 of Heartstopper. These ones, this was my first time rereading them, and for some reason the first time I read this I gave it a 3 stars. I've upped it to a 5. Don't worry, both of these got 5. I do think that the emotional impact, particularly of this one, is most effective if you've just read the previous 3 volumes. I think it really helps that you're 3 books deep invested in these characters and the nuances of their story and everything. It's very fresh in your brain. I think that definitely helps with enjoying this to its fullest potential. That's the only reason I can think of that I would have given it a lower star rating the first time I read it. But yes, I love these. I think this one might be my favorite volume so far. These two are definitely the volumes where things get a lot more serious outside of the relationship. Definitely look up some trigger warnings for these. We don't have any like graphic depictions of anything. Considering these are graphic novels, I feel like I need to make that well known. But we do have, you know, a lot of dialogue surrounding it and exploration of these things. So I do just want to say trigger warnings because I know a lot of people are excited to jump into this series following the release of the Netflix show. So I just think it's important that you're aware of the potential triggering elements. But yes, both 5 out of 5 stars. Really thoroughly enjoyed rereading this graphic novel series, and now I'm just waiting for the final one. Then the next book I read was A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy I. Lin. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's a YA Asian inspired fantasy novel where there's this really cool magic system involving making tea. The people who do this are referred to as, and I apologize for my pronunciation here, Shinongshi. And our main character Ning, she accidentally brewed some poison tea that killed her mother and is slowly killing her sister. Not great. There is an announcement that there is a competition to find the kingdom's greatest Shinongshi for the imperial family, and the winner of the competition will win a favor from the princess. Ning sees this as her opportunity to save her sister, so she enters. There's a lot more to it than that. I really enjoyed this. I really loved the competition elements. It was giving me such strong Hunger Games training center vibes, and also the first Throne of Glass book where there's the assassin competition thing. Such strong vibes. I really enjoyed this. I loved the relationships, I loved the friendships and the family, and also, you know, the romance. I am really excited to see where this series goes. This book like just came out and the sequel is coming out in a few months. I don't understand how that happened, but I'm here for it. I love this cover. I really enjoyed the book, and it was just such a fun experience. Then the next book that I read was my classic for the month, Anne of Avonlea by L.M. Montgomery. This is the sequel to Anne of Green Gables, and it follows Anne and the town of Avonlea over the next few years following the end of Anne of Green Gables. Anne is a teacher of the school in Avonlea, and so she's kind of figuring out this new position in the town and growing up a bit. She starts a village improvement society that actually was quite interesting to read about in here. This book I I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as Anne of Green Gables, but I did still really like it. Unfortunately for this one, there was a lot more gendered thinking and gender expectations and general misogyny, which kind of came into play more with the children characters than anyone in Anne's own age group, which was weird. If it weren't for those elements, I probably would have given this book a 4. I just couldn't do it with the amount of things where I actually stopped while reading and went, ooh. I'm glad to be making more progress on this series. I'm excited to see what happens with Anne in the future. I want to see some romance with Anne and Gilbert. I'm waiting. Then I read on my Kindle This Is Not the Jess Show by Anna Carey. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. The way I pitched it in my TBR is really the best way I know how to talk about it, and I said it was a kind of YA retelling of The Truman Show. And I'm leaving it at that because if you've seen The Truman Show, you know what I mean. And if you haven't seen The Truman Show, then you have no idea what I mean. And I can't really explain it in any other way because I don't know what to say about this book without spoiling it if you don't know what The Truman Show is. I don't know what to say. I really liked it up until like the last chunk. I still enjoyed it. Things got a little too convenient and weird. I really liked our main character, although I would have liked to have seen more reaction from her. Some things that she found out, I feel like should have had a very strong emotional response and kind of didn't. Like they did, but like they didn't. I don't know. I wanted to see more. The ending is pretty ambiguous in a sense that it could work as a standalone. There is a sequel and a part of me wants to read the sequel. I don't know if I ever will, but a part of me wants to. But this book does work as a standalone if you so desire. I did really enjoy it. Again, it was a lot of fun. I liked the setting. I thought that was really interesting and the dynamics between all these characters. The next book that I read this month was So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, or Luckens. I still don't know how to say this author's name. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and I think this author is becoming a favorite author for me. So this is a YA fantasy set after the events a book would typically follow. So, you know, this ragtag group of people killed the evil guy and now they just kind of don't know what to do. So our protagonist, Eric, kind of gets pressured by his friends to take up the throne just temporarily until they can rescue the princess. Except turns out the princess is dead. And also turns out there is a magical contract binding him to the throne that says if he doesn't marry someone before his 18th birthday, he will fade away and die. His birthday's like a month away. So now he's trying to woo all his friends with the help of his friend and the mage of their group, Matt. Matt. These two are hopeless. I really enjoyed this book. I loved the romance in it. It is queer. I really loved how this author was kind of playing with different tropes. This is essentially like a romantic comedy set in a fantasy world, and it's great. I loved the characters. I loved how witty they are, how sarcastic, but also how kind of raw they are at times, and they all have different roles and they all have very different personalities, and it's really fun to read. And I loved the friendship dynamic. It's kind of like a found families situation in that regard, and I really liked it, especially because these characters already have the history of going on this journey together that happened before the book started. So there was a lot of foundation for their friendship, and it was really fun to kind of just jump into it. Loved this. Would highly recommend it. I want to read more by this author, so I need to get more by this author. So the next book that I finished was The Roommate by Rosie Danan, I don't know. I wasn't planning on reading this month, and I picked it up when I was organizing my TBR and then read the whole thing. This book was a ride. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. It just kind of lives in the average romance book territory for me. I didn't think it was bad by any means, but it didn't do anything particularly special for me. This book follows a girl named Clara who travels from New York all the way to LA to spend the summer with her best friend from high school. This is an adult romance, by the way. Everybody's like in their late 20s. And when she shows up, he leaves. He just dumps her and goes on tour with his band, and suddenly she's got this roommate she's never met who he rented out the other room in his house to, and turns out she's roommates with a high-profile porn star. Sorry, adult performer. What a dynamic. She is like a socialite, you know, the kind of family that goes to the country club kind of thing. And it was just a really interesting kind of pairing of characters to put together. I really liked the way this book looked into the porn industry and the adult entertainment industry and the role of women as viewers as well as performers in that industry. There was a lot of discussion about female pleasure and the importance of it, which I appreciated. For a book with a porn star, there was a surprising lack of number of scenes involving intercourse. But the scenes that did, my goodness, this is not for the faint of heart. It was interesting. There were some weird stereotypes that it kind of played into that I wasn't prepared for, considering the way it kind of combated so many others. There was a lot of personal growth from our main characters, which I enjoyed. Overall, it was a quick, fun read, and I enjoyed it. I don't really know what else to say. Are you expecting me to say anything else? And then the final book that I read this month, the one that I finished earlier today, was As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. This is the third book in the Disney Twisted Tales series. It's not a series, but it's a series, so I have to say it, but they're not connected in any way, shape, or form. You can read these books however you want to. They're not connected. They're just match. This is a retelling of Disney's animated Beauty and the Beast film with the added twist, what if Belle's mother cursed the beast? There's a lot more to it than that. I actually really enjoyed something we got in the first chunk of this book. We did have alternating chapters with Belle in the current timeline of what was going on, and then back in time with Maurice meeting Belle's mother and their relationship developing and all of that, and I found that really fun to read. I really liked the way this book handled the original fairy tale and kind of explained elements that we didn't really know we needed explained, but also didn't take away from the original Disney movie. Honestly, this kind of gave me live action Beauty and the Beast vibes at times as well. I loved the characterization of the Beast. I definitely felt for him more in this. Their relationship, Belle and the Beast, feels a lot less Stockholm Syndrome. In this, it's very much more believable. And I really liked the Beast in this book. I liked reading about him. I thought he was quite an in-depth character. I also really liked the way magic was handled in this book. It was just very interesting. I gave it 4 stars. I'm really enjoying these Twisted Tales retellings, and I really am enjoying Liz Braswell's writing in these and the way that she kind of brings her characters to life. I don't know, her writing style is quite different from what I typically read. That being said, I do find the start of her books a bit slow. So it took like 100 or so pages before I was really hooked. But then once you're hooked, you cannot put this book down. But I liked it. It's a chunky book. It's almost 500 pages long, but it's very good. And I would recommend checking out this series if you are in any way interested in fairy tale retellings, because they're quite enjoyable. The ones that I've read, at least. So that's the 13 books that I read this month. My camera battery is flashing at me, so I should probably wrap this up quickly. If you have read any of these, let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below. I would love to hear your opinions. Also, if there's any books you think I'll enjoy based on what I thought of these books, please let me know what they are. I'm always looking for recommendations. May was a good reading month for me. I'm looking forward to June. I have some fun things planned for June. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I post every week and I have more fun things planned for the coming month, and I hope to see you next time in a new video. Bye!